Let's dive into it. We have a ton of new Marvel updates from the week. Welcome back to Cosmic Rewind. And we're going to start off by talking about these 6 projects that we should be expecting to be announced for Marvel and the future of the MCU at San Diego Comic-Con. But we have Hulk news coming up. We have Spider-Man news coming up. We have X-Men news coming up. All into today's Cosmic Rewind. Now, some of the updates that we are probably most excited to get will be coming during San Diego Comic-Con and D23, which are right around the corner. Well, recently, insiders have informed us what projects we should expect to be announced, and that will give us some real clarity to the direction that the MCU is heading. And I know right now there are a lot of questions around what's going on with Kang, what's going on with Avengers 5, what projects are going to come out before and after Secret Wars or Avengers 5. A lot of big questions, which we're really leaning on to these 2 events to give us answers for. But insiders have stated that we should expect a Shang-Chi 2 announcement, a Young Avengers announcement, a Thor 5 announcement, a Doctor Strange 3 announcement, and an Avengers Forever announcement. We're also expecting to get some details about the Midnight Suns, which could be either a Ghost Rider project and a Moon Knight Season 2 project. Now, keep in mind, the MCU is kind of separating again into its individual sections of the MCU. For example, we have the street-level MCU with Spider-Man, Daredevil, Kingpin, that whole storyline. We have the Cosmic MCU. That'll be Thor, Miss Marvel, maybe some of this stuff going on with the Bengals and Captain Marvel. And then, of course, we have the mystic side of the MCU, Doctor Strange, the Scarlet Witch, the Agatha storyline that will be coming out. But on top of that, we know we're also getting the MonsterVerse side of the MCU, where the Midnight Suns, potentially Mephisto, and a few other options will start to merge together, and we should be getting some announcements about this finally at D23. This is a very exciting update coming from the insider, and even if just some of these projects end up being announced, I know that we'll be very, very, very excited, because we need a little bit of direction right now from the MCU with a massive toss-up, and of course the Kang debacle, which hopefully will also be addressed at either San Diego Comic-Con or D23. The next bit of news is one I know several fans are very excited to get at least some type of update for, and that is Savage Hulk. We're expecting the return of Savage Hulk, and yes, we've been talking about it for quite some time, but also the World War Hulk storyline. Well, sort of. Recent reports are indicating that although we will get some iteration of the World War Hulk storyline, it won't be exactly comic book accurate, and that's mostly just because of the timing of the storyline. It can't be that comic book accurate, because in the comics, Hulk goes berserk over thinking his family was killed because the Illuminati sends him off to Sakaar, and all of these things just won't line up perfectly, but that doesn't mean that we can't get back to Savage Hulk and have a MCU developed World War Hulk-like storyline. I think we're all holding out to see Hulk out for real one last time before Mark Ruffalo retires the character, and maybe we'll get a different variant of him in the future if we get that heavily spoken about MCU reboot. But as far as Mark Ruffalo's Hulk storyline goes, we definitely need to see savage, angry, World War Hulk one more time before we move on from this OG Avenger. The second part of this report is that it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Now, a lot of people are turning to Captain America Brave New World because we know that President Ross will be experimenting with Red Hulk. This is just a known fact at this point. We've literally seen McDonald's toys with Red Hulk. This isn't a secret or a spoiler, and although we haven't gotten even a trailer or a poster for this film, and they have done reshoots after reshoots after reshoots, we know to expect Thunderbolt Ross as Red Hulk. Now, we also know that Hulk has a son. She-Hulk's involved, and more Hulks might start to show up, and this might be what triggers Hulk to get angry. Now, there is some debate whether or not we should be expecting Hulk to make an appearance in Brave New World, but the beginning of his Savage Hulk storyline will start in Brave New World with Thunderbolt Ross. And then we're anticipating to see him sooner rather than later in the MCU, which is great news because it seems like we're going to need a Savage Hulk moving forward into Avengers 5 and Secret Wars. And an easy segue from Hulk into Wolverine, we will jump into the recent theory that is circulating stating that Deadpool might in fact loosely follow the Old Man Logan story comic line, where Logan is tricked by Mysterio into killing everybody. And the theory is that the Logan that Deadpool is going to join up with in Deadpool and Wolverine will have undergone this story arc, and that the reason why he's so depressed and angry and is haunted by his past is because he was tricked by potentially Kang, or even more likely Cassandra Nova, into killing all of his friends and fellow mutants and X-Men. This would be a really cool theory to come to life on the screen because there would be a ton of emotion behind that, and it would give a lot of depth to Wolverine's character, as we are all assuming that technically this Logan is different from the Logan we know from the X-Men universe, but the fact that it's Hugh Jackman, we're going to want to have that connection there. So this will help separate the character from his history, and then as this character continues to show up in the MCU for Secret Wars, maybe Avengers 5, and wherever else, we can have a really cool emotional connection to him, and I really do hope that this is the direction they've gone. You know, go ahead and make it dark, and this would be extremely dark. Now we can swing on over to Spider-Man news, which is always a fan favorite. There are rumors that we should potentially be expecting Doc Ock and Green Goblin to be making their first MCU appearance, their official MCU appearance. I'm not talking about No Way Home, where they showed up from a different universe. However, actual MCU characters for Green Goblin and Doc Ock. And although they might not be the main villains for Spider-Man 4, they will have some relevance and make an appearance. Now, this is exciting because Green Goblin obviously is a Spider-Man fan favorite. I think this is why we keep seeing him recirculated and reused, and I really do hope the MCU can use him and do justice, but also not focus all of their energy on a character who, yes, we know we've seen several times during the last 20 years and throughout readaptations of Spider-Man. With that being said, I'd love to see an MCU Doc Ock and an MCU Green Goblin, and the report is also stating that they won't be the main villains, but that they will have a part to play in Spider-Man 4. We also know already from past reports that Spider-Man 4 has Sony pushing for a bigger multiverse type feeling, whether that's in a post-credit scene or the ending, potentially trying to even get Andrew and Tobey back involved, just because Sony's continuously trying to push the Spider-Man movies for their own profit. I hope they don't meddle too much and mess it up, because the MCU originally was trying to go for a little bit more of a low-key street-level Spider-Man 4 movie. We'll have to wait for more updates and results to see exactly how that will play out. But we do have one last bit of Spider-Man news that is, in my opinion, really exciting, and this is taking from the successful part of the Sony universe, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which includes Spider-Man 2099. That's right, there were rumors that the MCU had reached out to Sony to have Miguel O'Hara included in the MCU and to be working with Kang for his version of stabilization of the multiverse. As we know from his movie, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, this was what he sought, that stabilization, this peace and safety through the multiverse, and he's obviously an advanced multiverse traveler as well, which makes him an asset to Kang, and Kang an asset to him. Now, would they team up and be two baddies together, two bad villains in the MCU? I don't believe so. I think it would be more of a symbiotic type relationship where they're using each other, and I think eventually Spider-Man 2099 would swing over to the good side, playing a bit of that anti-hero role, and realizing that, Kang was not the answer to the stability of the universe. However, this was scrapped as Sony was not willing to give Miguel O'Hara over to the MCU, so the live-action version of this character was never to happen. However, it sounds like after negotiating back and forth, Sony is now willing to allow the MCU, to allow Disney to use Miguel O'Hara in a live-action MCU version of the character, but it might not be the same storyline that we were originally hearing, as Kang has been sidelined a little bit since this original plan was thrown out there. And yes, we know Kang is a little bit up in the air as to what is happening with the character. We're anticipating and hoping for some answers at San Diego Comic-Con and D23, but for the time being, Miguel O'Hara could potentially join the MCU and have some type of role, some type of involvement, which is very good news, in my opinion. One, because what a cool character. There's a possibility that maybe even Oscar Isaac could play him in the MCU as the live-action variant, and then also interact with himself as Moon Knight, which is, just some mind-blowing, crazy kind of stuff that doesn't happen often. But we also need multiverse travelers. The MCU is in the multiverse saga, and there's still so little known about the multiverse by our actual characters. Ant-Man has some info. Obviously, Doctor Strange has been involved, and we have America Chavez. But overall, there's some big question marks as to how are we going to figure out the multiverse, and adding a experienced multiverse traveler, whether he plays an anti-hero at first or a little bit of a villain and switches over to the good side, would be extremely helpful for that storyline. But that's the main news that you need to know from this week. Let me know which of it was the most exciting, what news you are excited for, and what projects are you hoping get announced at San Diego Comic-Con and or D23. Thank you so much for watching till the very end of the video, and we'll catch you in the next one on Cosmic Rewind.